Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is part 4 in a 5-part series, specifically designed for really new members or people that are just getting logged into BNI Connect for the very first time. What we do is we take little bite-sized chunks, about a half hour each, and step through the system and the different areas that are available for use, without getting too overwhelmed with a whole bunch of information. Today's topic, what we're going to talk about, is the tools and reports. So just to review what we've gone over so far, earlier in the week we went through how to fill out your profile. Then we went into how to use the online slips and to pass referrals and things like that. Yesterday we went through the kind of social media side of things. And then finally, we're now going through the tools and reports. Now, the last part of this series, we're going to actually take a week off. We'll be back the following Monday with how to utilize the visitor system. So before we get started, just a couple of really quick housekeeping things. Firstly, this is a live webinar, at least if you're with me here on March 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That means that you have the privilege of asking questions. If you have any questions whatsoever, please do just type those in. I'll see them pop up on my screen, and we can answer those questions as we're going through things today. If you are listening to this in the future by the recordings, then by all means, please feel free to submit questions by email, and I'd be happy to answer those as well. support@bniconnect.com. As I mentioned, we do record all of these, and you can find them on our support site. You get to the support site by clicking on the question mark in BNI Connect. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the first things I'm going to show you today, is that we do have a whole wealth of tools for you available on the support site. So the way to get there is if you click on this question mark. You see this question mark here in the upper right-hand corner? What that is this is our support site. And we've built this so that it has a ton of information for you. We have all sorts of stuff from help guide documents. We have the recorded webinars will be located under live and recorded webinars. We have this thing called the BNI Resource Center, where you'll find tons of documents and BNI branding standards and logos, and we have some member documents, and the Giver's Gain audio book is all up here on the Resource Center. And of course, you can also just search for things. So if you want to do, search for, enter a referral, the results will give you all the help documents that we have. For example, entering a referral slip online, and now you have a video and a walkthrough and a guide for exactly how this all works. So all this is one of our very helpful tools that people have in order to share this information. I realize that you may be here. You may be the only one from your chapter on this webinar today, but you'd really like everybody to start using the online referrals. That's a great way to do that, is to share with them those help documents. Now, getting back into BNI Connect, let's just take a look at a couple of quick things here on the home screen before we go to those scary places that are beyond the home screen here. So, couple of things first. One really important tool here that's on the home screen is actually a report that's kind of hidden here. But if you look, you'll see the My Personal Participation Report. And we can see our stats right here on the home screen in the My BNI Business. Then that's going to give us really the last 12 months and the last lifetime of activity. But it's kind of a summary. So if you want to see the details of your activity, you can look at it on a week-by-week basis by looking at your personal participation report. This is going to give you the last 12 months or 52 weeks, week by week by week by week, what was entered for you into BNI Connect. So this is going from March 16th of last year to March 16th of this year. So we have our, every week I could see, like that very first week I had a referral received and a one-to-one. Then the next week I had a referral given and 4 one-to-ones. So you can catch up on exactly where it was. This is also a really useful report that if for some reason you feel like the stats just aren't quite right. For example, I've seen some weird things in here that, all of a sudden somebody has 17,000 one-to-ones. Well, more than likely what happened there is that when if you were using paper slips and your vice president was entering the reports manually, they just put it in the wrong column. It's much easier to figure out what week that happened by looking at this particular report. It'll also show you your attendance summary, as well as people you've sponsored and what training events you've attended. So it's a great little hidden report right there in plain sight on the home screen. The other really cool tool that's on the home screen here that's a bit underutilized in my opinion is the ability to track referrals. So as people are sending you referrals through BNI Connect, they do have to be the online referrals. You can track those referrals. So you can go in and basically mark the status. If you've been to a member success program yet, this is one of the things that's usually taught in the member success program is the referral tracking sheet. So what you can do is here, there's a link. It says track your referrals received online. By default, it'll show you the last month's worth of referrals that you've received. Ideally, you want to start tracking these right away. So here we have a referral that I received about a month ago, Rhode Island Septic Systems. I can go and click this edit button, and I can look at the various details of this referral. So I can fill in any missing details I want here, but the more important thing is that we have a status here. And this status is shared with my referral partner, Ken Neff. So if I want to let Ken know that I closed this referral, I can then mark this as closed. For my own records, I can also mark, when did I contact them? So I know that we actually contacted them the same day that I got this referral, the 24th. We did set up an appointment for about a week later. So we actually went and saw them on the 1st of March. And I know that my office manager just followed up with them earlier this week. Now, the thank you for closed business, I would still need to submit a slip for if I wanted it to be tracked in BNI Connect. This is really for keeping track of it myself. The stuff here does not go into the POMS report. And I can click Submit. So now if I go back to my home page and I start reviewing my referral slips, the referrals that I've received, my received referrals report, for example, I can now see that I've closed these referrals. I can see which ones turned into no sale. So it's another bit of information and really accountability for yourself and, as I said, your referral partner. So in this case, Shannon and Ken Neff here, they can see in their referrals given report that I closed this referral. All right, so I do want to go beyond the home page here, though, because there's a lot of stuff that's in some of the other areas of BNI Connect. Now, the other day we went and we looked at the My Network page, and this is really where all the social media type stuff is. But to get to some of the other things, we got to use these menu items up here. So you should have, at the very least, Network, Operations, and Reports. Now, Network is all those social functions, the connections, the testimonials, those types of things. Operations and reports are the other two areas of the system. So operations is really when you are doing data entry in BNI Connect, or you're creating things. That's what operations is. Reports are read only. You can only get information back out of reports. So if you're looking to input something or create something, really the day-to-day management of your chapter, that is operations. If you're looking to get stuff out, stats and reports and things like that, that's under reports. So let's take a look at some of the things that are available in those two sections. The first place I'm going to go to is operations. So if we go to the operations menu, now I'm not going to go through too much of this because a lot of this is leadership team specific. So if you're a visitor host, for example, this is a way to enter the visitors that attended the meeting. If you are the secretary treasurer, for example, or the vice president, this is where you're going to go to enter the statistics for the weekly meeting and mark attendance and things like that. If you are schedule the speaker rotation. If you're entering applications or processing renewals, this is all where you're going to go for that stuff. But as just a regular old-fashioned member, there are a couple of cool things in here that you need to know about as well. Under the Create Email function, there are two really important things that you need to know about here. The first one here is Email My Chapter. And the Email My Chapter is a great tool to be able to get, well, an email out to your chapter. The thing with this one is, when I first joined BNI, if I needed to get a message out to my chapter, what I would do is kind of go through my old messages and, look for the last group message and then hit reply all. But you know what? It never went to the right people because there was always a couple of people that had just left the chapter or there was new members that had just joined that weren't on that list yet, or it could have been from months ago. So it never seemed to get to the right people. With this function, if I click on Email My Chapter, this will give me the most recent and current email address list for the people in my group. So I know that this is 100% accurate up to the minute for my particular chapter. All I would need to do is to copy this, right-click, choose copy. You do have to use your own email. So I would go into my own email program. I personally like to always put these on the BCC line. And that way you don't get that reply all situation where people are saying, oh yeah, I got it, and it goes to like 50 people. So it keeps a little bit more privacy, and if somebody was to forward this on beyond the group, they wouldn't automatically get everybody's email address. So you just type out your message and click send. Now the second thing in here that I think is really important is the visitor invitation. Now the visitor invitation is a way to send a message, an email, to somebody that you've invited to visit the chapter. This is meant to actually be a follow-up to a verbal invitation. Here in BNI, we are not cold callers. We are not, spam people. So this should be treated the same way as really a referral. It's essentially you're sending an electronic referral to come and visit your chapter. So the way this works is, let's say that you're out at a networking event or something like that, and you meet somebody that you think would be a good fit for your chapter. Hey, why don't you come and visit my chapter? They say, sure, I would love to. This is when you would go in and say, do you mind if I send you an invitation? Now that they're expecting it, it's not just going to go into junk mail or they're going to delete it without reading it. They know it's on its way. So all you have to do is to put in the person's name and email address, and we'll do the rest for you. So let's say that I was going to invite, I'm just going to invite myself so you guys can see what this looks like. Jeremy Walsh from BNI and my email address. Now the personal message is optional if you want to put this in here. If you want to put a personal message in to kind of say, hey, yeah, no, looking forward to seeing you at the meeting, or it was great meeting you at the event, and really, personalize this so they know it's not just a spam message and it's actually coming from you, you are welcome to do that. It will appear at the top of the message. So I could put something in, it was great meeting you at the networking event. Oops. Not the networking, the networking event. Here is the invite I promised. Be sure to RSVP. Okay. I click send. Now the cool thing is you will be carbon copied on this. So you'll know exactly when it was delivered, and you'll also know exactly what was sent. So I should actually get that in my email in about 5, 4, 3, 2, and here it is. There we go. So you can see that I was copied on this. It was sent to Jeremy Walsh. I was copied with my support address. It was great meeting you at the networking event. Here's the invite I promised. Be sure to RSVP. And then it has a nice branded email. What I like about this tool is that it takes the guesswork out of inviting somebody. You don't have to think about how to explain BNI. You don't have to remember the address of your meeting. I know where we meet because I drive there every week, but I couldn't tell you what the actual physical address was. This will insert that information right into the email for you, and it's going to pull it automatically from BNI Connect. It then briefly describes what BNI is all about in language that somebody that hasn't been to a BNI meeting can understand. We also have some websites that go into more depth explaining what BNI is all about. And the most important thing is that they can RSVP for that meeting and register themselves. So that way your whole leadership team and your visitor hosts know that you have a visitor coming and can be prepared for them at that meeting. Make sure they welcome them at the door and make them feel like they're part of the team already. All right, so those are a couple of things here under the operations menu, but really a lot of the stuff is going to be under reports. So let's take a look over at the reports menu. So if I go to reports, there are a ton of reports. There's about 22 or so reports here. Note you can scroll down a little bit. I'm not going to go through them all today. As I mentioned way back in the beginning, I do try to keep these webinars, short and sweet, under a half hour, so that you guys are, can get back on with your busy days. That said, I'm going to highlight a couple of my favorites. A couple of them do happen to be right in the beginning, so it's going to look like I'm going through all of them. But really, the thing that I want to tell you with this is that the reports, because they're read-only, you can't really break anything. So there's no reason why you can't just go through and click on these and see what they show, and maybe you're going to find your own favorite report just by clicking on it. And of course, if you have any questions about them, please feel free to ask. For example, we have this one report called the chapter traffic lights, which is used in a lot of areas to track just how the chapter is performing. If you've never seen it before, go ahead and just run the report and see what it looks like. If you want to know what the report means, so let's say I run this report and you're like, where are all these numbers coming from? What you can do is go to the little question mark in front of it. If you click that little question mark, it will take you directly to the help document for that particular report. And you can see what the scoring mechanisms are. You can see, how do I get to this report? What do I click on? What do all the numbers mean? So that is available for you as well. So let me scroll back up here to the top. There's a couple of reports. There's probably about 5 reports I want to show you today. But as I said, please take some time to go through the rest of them and just shoot me an email with any questions if you're unsure about anything. So this first one, I'm going to go and look at the chapter roster report. And this is going to be a fairly obvious report. It's going to be the people in your chapter. So if I click go, this is going to show us the roster. Now, of course, the first thing is your leadership team and officers. So it's going to show you everybody that's in the various positions, which is really helpful if you need to, you have a great idea for the education coordinator, or, you might have a problem, something's happening, you need to talk to the membership committee about it. Now you can look this up and know who it is that you need to approach, and it also has all their phone numbers. So you can pick up that phone and give somebody a call and, work out the question or issue. It also has your chapter director consultant. Please utilize your director consultant. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you out and make your experience just as positive as can possibly be. So if you're having any types of questions or struggles, set up a one-to-one with your director consultant. They would love to hear from you. Now, if I scroll down, it will show me the rest of my chapter membership. So these are, all of the people in my chapter, along with what category they hold, what their company is, and all of their phone numbers as well. Over to the right-hand side, what it's showing us is it says data for the last 90 days. So that's really, what that is that's an abbreviated version of a 3 months POMS report. So it's showing us their personal activity for the past 3 months. I like to look at this to see if I can see if anybody might be struggling in the chapter, pick out some people to have one-to-ones with that might not have had many one-to-ones in the past, 90 days, and try to help re-engage them in the chapter as much as possible. All right, I'm going to skip down a couple here. The meeting notes report. Now, this one is actually one of my favorites. And the meeting notes report, what this is used for, and when I pull this up, it's going to look pretty much identical to the chapter roster report, right? It has everybody's name and it has their company. Pretty straightforward, right? What this report, though, is meant for is to print out. So if you print a copy of this and bring it with you to the meeting, it's meant to help you to be a better referral giver. All of us struggle at times to give referrals at the meeting. The best way that you can give more and more consistent referrals is to pay attention to what people are asking for at the weekly meeting. Now, I'm not saying that you're not paying attention, but like I have a big chapter. We currently have 46 members in our chapter. You know, that's 45 people asking for something every single week. You know, my memory is good, but it's just not that good. There's no possible way I can keep all 45 people top of mind when I walk out that door. What I need to do is take a little bit of extra effort, write down what they're asking for, and then throughout the week be able to refer back to that list. Because a lot of times when somebody asks for a referral, you may not know that person yet. You may not even meet that person until 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks or even months into the future. But if you can go back and reference it, oh yeah, you know what? Somebody wanted to meet John Smith. I can now go back and figure out who it was that asked for it. Now, if you don't like the way that prints out, all of the reports in the system can also be exported to Excel. A great way to really be able to take the reports and make them your own. All you have to do is click export or export without headers. So these two things, if I click export, what it's going to do is it's going to take everything on this page and put it into an Excel sheet for me. So if I click on this, it's going to include all this stuff at the top as well, which means it's going to include who ran the report, when it was run, what chapter and country and region it was run for, you know, what chapter. So that's all well and good. If I'm just going to save this report on my computer for future use, I now know, you know, when did I run that report. That said, if I wanted to sort this by company instead of by last name, or if I want to sort it by first name, it's really hard to do because all these cells up here are they're all merged and they mess up the order of things. So that's why we have this export without headers. It's really export data only. So when I open this one up, now you can see that I have the fields only and just the data. So I can do things like, you know what, if I want more room to take notes, yeah, I can expand this out. You know, let's say I want this to spread this out this way. You know, I want the notes field to be bigger. You know, at this point, whatever I want to do to this, I can now do. If I want to give it a nice pretty color scheme, by the way, this is my favorite button in Excel, format as table, give it a nice orange color, and now I have these little drop-down buttons. I can sort it by first name instead of by last name, resort it by last name, or sort it by company name. And I could even take notes if I want to electronically. So maybe I want to save this on my iPad or something like that and be able to take notes electronically at the meeting. So this is all much easier to do once you get it out to Excel and have full control over it. All right, the next report down is the Summary Palms report. This is a great little report because it is the bread and butter of our statistics. This is going to show us our activity. Now, by default, it's going to show us the last 6 completed months, so through the end of last month, and the 6 months previous to that. And it's only going to show active members. So if there's a member that might have been in the chapter 4 months ago, but it's no longer a member now, they will not appear in this report, though their stats will contribute to the chapter totals. So I can just click this and get all of our statistical information. I know when I first joined BNI, I used to have to beg my vice president to bring this in once every couple of months even. Now I can go and get this anytime I want to. So of course, PALMS, that's your attendance, present, absent, late, medical substitute. RG is referral given, inside and outside. RR is referrals received, inside and outside. Visitors, one-to-ones, thank you for closed business, and CEUs. And as I mentioned, if you run this by default, these numbers down here may not add up because it's hiding the dropped members, but it still includes their totals. But you can also run this for any length of time. So if I want to see who was the biggest referral giver in 2016, I could go and pull that report and run that report for one full year. And of course, you can also export this one out to Excel. All right, we're getting pretty close to the bottom of the hour, so there's just a couple of more quick reports I want to show you, and then one other really cool thing. So I think the last report I'm going to show you for today is I'm going to scroll down here, and we have the member details report. And actually, this is 4 reports. So a lot of people, after you go to your member success program, one of the things that you learn in the member success is that you should be doing one-to-ones, right? That is really what's driving our relationships in BNI, is in order to get to know people on a much deeper level, we need to meet with them outside of the BNI meeting and learn more about them and their business. Now, if you really want to turbocharge your one-to-ones, one thing that you should be doing is doing what's called a gains exchange. Now, gains is part of your profile. It stands for goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, and skills. Goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, and skills. And that's something you could fill out on your profile here in BNI Connect. Now, when I first was taught about the gains exchange back in 2002 when I joined, the prescribed method was, well, print out your gains or fill it out on a piece of paper and then fax it over to your one-to-one partner. I haven't owned a fax machine in at least 10 years. There's no way I could still do that. But if you try to just take that off your profile, it's kind of, it gets all ugly and stuff. So you can actually go and view somebody's gains. I could look up the gains of the person that I'm going to be meeting with, or better yet, just go look at their profile in BNI Connect and get more information. But if I want to send my own profile to somebody, I can go and choose my name from the list. I can view my gains. And now I can either just copy and paste this and put it into an email. I could export it out. I could print it out. I can also just flip over to my bio. I can flip over to my TOPS presentation or my weekly presentations and be able to have this information to send over to them as well. All right, we have about 1 minute left. I want to show you a little trick. So I'm going to go back to my home screen. Click that home button in the upper left-hand corner. So we have the My BNI Business and we have the My Network right under it, which takes us to those social media type things. We also have below that, it says Chapter Shortcuts. Now what the Chapter Shortcuts are, this list that pops up is your own customizable list for your favorite things in BNI Connect. So you don't have to go digging through the menus. Once you know what it is that you like, you can put them into your own list. And you do that by clicking on Configure. I could have everything in my list. I could have nothing in my list. Everything over here on the left is the things that are currently in my list. Everything on the right is everything else that I have access to, but I don't have it in my list right now. So for example, that member details report here. Let's say I want that in my list. I click the checkbox. Summary Palms report, click the checkbox. Now it's over in my list. If I want the Summary Palms report up at the top, I just drag it and drop it and put it up there. Once I click Submit, it's going to save that. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. And now you can see my Summary Palms reports at the top. So like, let's say I'm back on my BNI Business page. If I want to send an email out to my chapter, I could go to Operations, Chapter, Create Email, Email My Chapter. Or I could just go to Chapter Shortcuts, Email My Chapter. Boom. I have my chapter list right here, ready to go, copy, paste, done. That saved me about 5 clicks, as well as the refresh time, because normally when you go through the normal way, it has to refresh the whole screen. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour, and we've made it through another webinar. Just want to say thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. What I'd like to do is to open this up for any questions. Does anybody have any questions at all? I'd be happy to take those questions now. While you're thinking of any questions, just a reminder that we do these same series of webinars every single month. Love to have more and more people on the webinar. So if you found this useful, it would be great if you could refer me and these webinars to other people in your chapter and or other people in your area. All right. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns, compliments, complaints? I'd love to hear them all. All right. It looks like we have a quiet crowd today. So with that, I'm going to say thanks again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. The next one is going to be Monday the 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to go through the visitor process in BNI Connect. Have a wonderful day, and happy connecting.